we know for a fact if Jack clips someone clean on the chin, they can go over. So it could happen in the first minute. It could happen in the 24th minute. Jack likes long fights. You know, he likes to be in there. But Jack's cardio, as we saw, Bilal's reputedly the best like cardio in the UFC, and Jack out cardioed him. Bilal was more tired than Jack towards the end of the fight. And yeah, I like the fight. I really do.
Jack Della Maddalena isn't just grinding in the gym, but he's also transforming, bulked up, sharper than ever, and pushing through brutal sessions. The Aussie striker looks like a man on a mission, and that mission is to keep that belt. With experts already buzzing about how his ever-changing game matches up against Islam Makhachev's suffocating style, this collision feels less like a fight and more like a storm waiting to break.
Makhachev fought bulk here, and I like the matchups, styles make fights, and I like the different challenges that every different fighter presents. So I'm just excited to get in there. Islam Makhachev is a better version of Bilal. The striking on the feet, I think it's easier than Bilal because he'll stay in one stance. He's more traditional style. But yeah, he's the pound for pound number one. So it's a tough fight, but I guess we'll watch all his fights again, make a solid game plan, and then just start working at it. From pretty much now, I'm going to start working on ways to beat him, different ways to get back to my feet, stuff in the takedown, but I'm pretty confident I can get this one done.
Joe Rogan has been quick to highlight what makes Jack Della Maddalena such a nightmare in the cage: his ability to effortlessly blend body shots with head strikes. While so many fighters aim for the knockout upstairs, Jack chips away with precision downstairs, then punishes opponents up top. It's that calculated mix, Rogan says, that breaks opponents piece by piece until there's nothing left.
Good at grappling. He's very good at striking too. He's like one of the best in the sport at mixing up shots from the body to the head, because so many fighters, for whatever reason, are headhunters because you can knock a guy out with one shot. But Jack is so good at mixing shots up to the body and to the head. He just breaks guys down. Man, he's a scary guy.
And JDM has been at night perfecting his striking prowess to deliver such crushing shots to Islam. Jack Della Maddalena's coach, Ben Vickers, isn't buying into the idea that his fighter is just a good striker, though. He insists people are sleeping on Jack's wrestling and grappling, confident that nobody's holding him down. And once you're locked in a cage with Jack, Vickers warns, it's punishment body shots, head shots, relentless strikes piling up until no welterweight in the world could possibly enjoy what's coming their way. And this holistic approach is exactly what they are practicing.
People underestimate Jack's wrestling and grappling ability. We're very confident that Jack can't be held down in 25 minutes. To be in a cage with Jack, him doing damage to you, hitting you in the body, hitting you repeatedly, landing a lot of significant strikes. I don't believe anyone in the welterweight division can endure that.
Craig Jones, one of the sharpest grappling minds in the game, has also been hands-on with Jack Della Maddalena's preparation. He praised Jack's boxing as the perfect complement for this fight, but what stood out most was his takedown defense, something Jones proudly takes some credit for sharpening. Having admired Jack since his Contender Series debut, Jones said he was already impressed by the grappling details in Jack's game. For him, it's not about overhauling anything, but adding subtle tweaks, and just as crucial, giving Jack the confidence to trust his skills when the cage door closes.
Fence wrestling, Jack's got great boxing, sort of complementary skills for the upcoming fight. So I would say that was one of the first times I spent a bit of a stint with Jack. He joined Volk's camp for a little bit. So yeah, I mean, on and off for a bit, but yeah, this was the first time cornering him for Bilal, and we really...
What a performance.
Yeah, amazing.
How much of that credit goes to you?
All of it, I think that's fair to say.
I mean, the takedown defense was unbelievable. That's all you.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, this guy's not going to be able to take me down either.
Sure.
Hopefully my skills translate personally as well. But yeah, I mean, for me personally, when I coach an MMA fighter, we have a short window of time to work with him, right? So Jack Della, I've been a fan of his since his, was it the Dana White Contender Series debut? And I remember seeing him hit some specific grappling moves that blew me away. So I would say that as just a fan of grappling, I appreciate what he does. So when he asked me to help him, I already knew what his game sort of looked like. So it's really just adding little things in there, and also, most importantly, giving him confidence, right?
stage is set, and the experts aren't holding back on their picks in this clash. Kicking things off with Dan Hooker, who sees the matchup as a major step up, especially with how determined Jack Della Maddalena's team has been in chasing the fight. He admits it'll be close, but points out that while Islam has a shot, the stylistic edge might tilt toward Jack. For Hooker, it's clear that this isn't just another fight, it's a real test that could show just how big Jack's presence at welterweight can be.
Pretty confident stylistically with that Jack Della fight they've kind of gone out of their way to chase that fight down. So they obviously see something. I feel like it'll be close, but yeah, that's a big step up. Jack Della's a pretty big boy.
Yeah. Do you think Islam can get past him?
He's obviously got I feel like he's got a chance, but I feel like that fight leans towards Jack Della.
Elijah Smith leaned the opposite way, towards Islam in this matchup, pointing to the lessons from Belal Muhammad's fight with Jack Della Maddalena. He felt Belal got caught up trying to prove he could strike instead of sticking to his strengths, which cost him. In contrast, Smith believes Islam won't fall into that trap. Instead, he'll relentlessly shoot for takedowns, bringing that Khabib-like pressure without hesitation. At the end of the day, Smith reminds us, it all comes down to the old saying, styles make fights.
70.
I want to say Islam. And the reason why I say Islam is because I feel like Belal, he went out there when he fought Jack, and he went out there trying to prove the fans that he can strike, which I think that kind of hurt him. I feel like if Belal went out there and did what he did to, what's his name? Leon Edwards, I think he probably would have had a better chance of getting the win, but it seemed like he just wanted to show people that he had with Canelo hands, which sometimes you don't need to prove anybody anything. You're the champion. You don't have to prove anything to somebody who's trying to take your spot. You just got to go out there and fight your game. If they stop it, then we move on to something different. But I think Islam is that type of guy where he's not going to be scared to take you down or shoot repetitively, almost in that Khabib-esque type of feel. But I guess we'll see. You know what they say, stop.
Eric Anders also gave his nod to Islam too, though he made sure to acknowledge Jack Della Maddalena's sharp boxing and ability to catch anyone if given the chance. Still, Anders pointed out that Islam is a far stronger wrestler than Belal, and unlike him, won't hesitate to chain takedowns instead of standing and trading. In his view, that persistence on the mat gives Islam the advantage.
Let's make fights.
I'm gonna go Islam. I really like Jack. I think he's like a superb fighter, you know, especially with his boxing and whatnot. He could catch Islam, but yeah, you know, he's clearly a much better wrestler than Belal, and will actively seek the takedowns instead of just trying to stand and bang with them. So I think that Islam will go.
Julius Walker gave a more analytical breakdown and admitted this matchup even sparked arguments with his own coaches and training partners. He leaned toward Jack Della Maddalena, mainly because he doesn't believe Islam has had enough time to properly prepare for welterweight. Walker pointed out that Islam was essentially waiting on the result of the Belal versus JDM fight just a couple months ago, leaving him little time to put on real size or muscle. To Walker, that short notice jump means a noticeable size difference in favor of Jack.
So this is a fun one that you're asking me. Is my coaches and I and the guys I'm down here with, we had a little bit of an argument about this one. I actually had taken JDM in that fight just due to the fact that, for one, I think a lot of people aren't thinking enough about the fact that Islam's moving up on this weight in really short notice. Because as far as I know, Islam was waiting for the result of the Belal and JDM fight, and that fight was like 2 months ago, or 3 months ago or something like that. So it's like it's not like he's had a bunch of time to move up to welterweight. There's no way he's put on any real muscle. Like he might have put on like 2 pounds of muscle in the amount of he hasn't had any time to do so. So I think there's going to be a size difference.
From there, Walker questioned how Islam is actually supposed to win. He doesn't see Islam beating JDM on the feet, and he's skeptical about Islam's grappling being that much better than Belal's, and especially since Belal was the reigning welterweight champ who has beaten everyone at 170 except Jack. That makes it hard for him to understand why odds makers or analysts would be so quick to place Islam as the favorite going into this fight.
And then if you think that Islam's winning, my question is like, do you think he's going to beat JDM on the feet? Because I don't see that happening. And then I don't understand why people because I feel like they're going to put Islam as the favorite, but it's like, dude, you mean to tell me Islam's that much better of a grappler than Bilal? You know what I mean? The 170-pound champion of the world who defeated literally everybody other than JDM. So I definitely actually can see JDM winning that fight.
Walker added another layer, which is Craig Jones's influence. He noted how Alexander Volkanovski, another Australian who trained with Jones, pushed Islam to the brink in their fight in a full camp. Now with JDM, who's bigger and stronger, Walker believes those same tools will translate even better. He predicted Jack stuffs the takedowns, lands clean shots, and walks away with the win, ultimately sending Islam back down to lightweight for the fight fans have been waiting for against Dustin Poirier.
And another reason I can see JDM winning that fight is the last Australian that had training from Craig Jones, the Islam fight, when he fought Volkanovski. Volkanovski won on a full camp. It was a real close fight, and JDM's just a different animal, bigger, longer, stronger. So I actually think JDM's going to win that fight. I think he's going to be able to stuff the takedowns and land the shots on the feet, and I think he's actually going to claim that victory. And then I think that means that we're going to get Islam going back down to fight Topuria, which is what, at the end of the day, that's what we all want to see.
Another critical take comes from Daniel Cormier, who called JDM versus Islam a fascinating matchup, noting how Jack shocked him with just how polished and well-rounded he looked against Bilal Muhammad. But with Islam moving up and carrying the benefit of not cutting all that weight, DC sees the real story being whether Jack can keep the fight standing. If Islam drags him down early, it's usually game over, but if JDM's takedown defense holds up, fans could be in for something special.
I think Islam and Jack Della Maddalena is a great fight. Della Maddalena surprised me in this fight with Bilal Muhammad. Like, he just showed that he's much better than people gave him credit for. He's so well-rounded, so skilled. Makhachev, though, bigger, will have an ability to not be cutting all the weight. He'll be more full. He'll be more, like, fresh. I'm interested. I think that it'll come down to the wrestling of Islam versus Jack's takedown defense and how stingy is he going to be able to be with Islam? Because when Islam can take guys down early, they really struggle. The only time a fight even looks competitive is when they can defend takedowns and he spends large amounts of time on his feet, which he does really well too.
Charles Oliveira broke the fight down to pure styles, noting that Jack Della Maddalena isn't the type to chase a one-punch finish, but rather wears opponents out with steady punishing pressure. Even so, he feels Islam could be even more dangerous at welterweight, with the extra size and strength amplifying his grappling. For Oliveira, if Islam forces the fight to the canvas and locks in his usual control, it could be a nightmare scenario for Jack.
O que você acha que ganha entre o Jack Della Maddalena e o Islam?
Maddalena, ele é um jogo muito complicado, porque ele é um cara que ele não vem pra te nocautear rápido, ele vem pra te finalizar, ele vem te magoando, né?
Aos poucos, né?
Aos poucos. Foi o que ele fez agora na luta contra o Bilal. Só que eu acho que o Islam vai se dar muito bem nessa categoria, né, mano? Agora vai estar muito mais forte, é um jogo que, tipo, ele gosta de agarrar e botar pra baixo. Eu acho que o Jack Maddalena fazia a mesma luta que ele fez, né? Agora contra o Bilal, batendo, movimentando, saindo, machucando, é uma luta, mas se deixar o Islam agarrar e botar pra baixo é o time.
Luke Thomas also reflected on JDM's progress and argued that he's clearly leveled up. Where his takedown defense and get-ups once looked vulnerable against Bilal Muhammad, he's now scrambling with far more control and poise. With the benefit of a full camp under Craig Jones rather than just a short stint, Thomas believes Jack enters this fight as a far more dangerous and complete opponent.
We talked about the issues heading into the fight with Bilal Muhammad, where he had second-order get-up ability, but he didn't have great down blocking, meeting takedowns when your opponent makes contact with you, greeting them at the point of contact with defense, and he got way better about it. Plus his get-ups also got a lot better. And if you actually listen to his coach on Submission Radio, what he says is they only worked with Craig Jones for a few weeks last time. Now they're going to get him for basically the entire camp. Dude, JDM is a formidable talent that Islam is going.
Islam has made his name by being precise, disciplined, and nearly impossible to hit clean, rarely giving opponents an opening through careless errors. But as Luke pointed out, moving to 170 raises fresh uncertainties. Does the extra size translate into more strength, or will facing true welterweights uncover weaknesses we haven't seen? Skipping the brutal cut should leave him fresher, yet how he adapts at this weight class is still unknown.
Up against. However, Islam, whose career is not blemish-free, but in general has proven, and especially in this more senior role, to just make excellent decisions, defensively sound everywhere, doesn't get hit clean. I mean, again, obviously he's got that one loss, but in general, what the record shows that he doesn't get hit super clean. We don't know how he's going to adjust to 70 pounds, 170 pounds, given he's moving up. He did have some problems, not making weight, but like what the weight cut did to him in order to make 55. So it'll be very curious to see what the size differential is, such that there is one. It'll be very curious to see what the added bulk does for Islam, what the lesser weight cut does for Islam. These are things we don't know, but it's going to be really, really interesting to pay attention to.
When it comes to striking, JDM holds the obvious advantage, but Luke stressed that Islam's relentless wrestling changes everything, just like it did against Poirier, making opponents second guess every exchange. The real question is whether that same pressure works against a striker as polished as Jack, and if Islam manages to get the win here, the pound-for-pound debates will explode instantly.
And of course, you know, JDM has pure better striking than Islam. About that, there's no question, but we saw that in the Poirier fight to the extent that the Makhachev opponents can be influenced by wrestling itself or wrestling threats. It limits what they can do in the stand-up. Can he do something like that to Della Maddalena? And for a guy like Islam, if he can go up to the next weight class and get a belt, does he reclaim the top pound-for-pound spot? There's going to be some debate over that, but it's certainly going to be a question that you have to wrestle with. Meanwhile,
for JDM, the stakes couldn't be higher. Coming off a shaky outing against Hafez and a tight fight with Holland, his dominant win over Bilal finally cemented him among the elite. Now, taking out Islam wouldn't just mark his first title defense, it would be the career-defining moment that elevates Australian MMA. Luke also highlighted the growing Australia versus Russia rivalry, made even spicier with Craig Jones fully backing JDM in camp. With Jack's momentum and Islam's all-around mastery, this clash shapes up as a true high-stakes classic.
Della Maddalena, a guy who has always been highly regarded, but they didn't know exactly what the upside would be, especially after the Basel Hafez fight. You know, what are we really going to get with this guy? And, you know, kind of went tooth and nail with Kevin Holland. Shows up big against Bilal Muhammad. Dude, if you get a win over Islam Makhachev, that's easily the best win of your career. That would be his first title defense. That would be an enormous feather in his cap. A huge win for Australia and that part of the world. Just an enormous amount of stakes. And also kind of interesting. I kind of like this Australia-Russian rivalry a little bit here that's happening, in part because of what Craig Jones is doing in the grappling with Volk previously. But, you know, Craig Jones has really had, because of the work with Volk and just more broadly what he's doing, he's going to be well situated to get JDM prepared. Islam is going to have to come with something a little bit different, I think, this time in order to have the success that he wants. But he is exceedingly well-rounded. He is exceedingly tough. He is exceedingly skilled in virtually all departments. So this is such a great fight. We know.
Now that we've broken down JDM's camp and the expert insights, the big question remains, does he have what it takes to hold onto the belt against Islam? And out of all the analysts weighing in, whose perspective do you think hit the mark best? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and make sure to subscribe so you never miss the latest from the MMA world.